hello everybody. We're back.
Yay, Ruth's back. Not necessarily better, but she's back.
Never better, but back. Welcome everyone to our podcast, Cry, Laugh, Eat, Making Friends with Your Emotions. We're so happy you're with us today.
We talk about everyday emotions in everyday life. Today we're going to focus on the emotion fear. And we're going to ask the question first up, what do you think fear looks like? When I was counselling people one-on-one, one of the questions I would ask, particularly around fear, was if you could draw fear, first of all, what colour would it be? And most commonly, the answer was black. Out there, if we asked you that question, what colour would fear be to you? What shape would it be? What texture? What would it look like?
We want to take a look at fear when it's not your friend. Just for a moment, we just want you to think about that and what it might look like and feel like to you when it's not a friend. And in our book, there's a line where fear says, you may think of me as your enemy, but I'm actually your friend. And it's that first section, how does an emotion become your enemy?
I think that's when it's become very overwhelming and dominating.
Yeah, so an emotion becomes your enemy when you consistently respond negatively to that particular emotion. So just to start you off thinking about that, perhaps a negative response or an unhealthy response to fear is one where it holds you back from living fully.
Definitely. An unhealthy response is when you become trapped in that fear.
Yeah, you might be like me, Miss Reluctance, where you avoid certain things for fear of failure. You know, maybe new opportunities, all kinds of things. It could be a promotion or a new job or even just meeting people.
Yeah. And I think all of us have an element of that at some time or perhaps even regularly. But if it keeps on happening, then fear is starting to dominate us. You might find that you really want to talk to someone and fear keeps you trapped and you don't.
You withdraw socially or something because maybe you're afraid that you might go to that particular event and no one's going to talk to you, or there may be a myriad of reasons.
And fear is often very future-based. It hasn't happened, but we fear what could happen.
Exactly. So that's great. So I hope that helps you to understand just a tiny bit about how fear can become an enemy. Let's go back to that question that you first asked us, Helen. What does fear look like to you if it's an enemy?
I think it brings a heavy feeling, a sense of I can't do this or I won't be good at this.
Yeah. I agree with you. I think the thing about fear as an enemy is that it just absolutely stops any growth, any hope, any light coming into your life. And I kind of visualize fear as an enemy as a room that's just totally black. I mean, even to the point where the ceiling is just above your head. You know how it's just closing in on everything. And it shuts out all good things.
When it's overtaking us, it really diminishes our own abilities, our own trust in ourselves, our trust in others diminishes as well. We start to see others as a threat when we're not trusting ourselves.
And I know we're just listing these things, but when you really stop and think about them, not being able to trust anyone else, not being able to trust ourselves, that has a massive impact on your day-to-day living, your relationships, any joy you might want to feel, any light and hope in your life. It impacts all of those.
Absolutely. And I just want to take us back to how we begin to not trust ourselves or trust others. When fear is our friend, we learn to actually trust ourselves more. When fear is your friend, you will know when you are around people who are perhaps not healthy for you. Fear will teach you to listen to that voice, whereas fear as an enemy will just keep you frightened of everybody. But you will know at times when there's someone that you ought to be careful of. fear is your friend because it wants to help protect you and tell you, hey, be careful here. When fear is an enemy, it diminishes our own capacities, our own strengths, our own abilities.
Just listening to you, I was thinking it causes more harm than protection.
Exactly. And then we stay in that cycle of not trusting ourselves, not trusting anyone else.
And it can lead to chronic stress.
Yes. That's another sign of unhealthy reaction to fear. And sometimes that can stem from the littlest things that we're afraid of, but being in a constant state of stress is not healthy. And I can look back on my life now and see there was a period where I didn't understand that's what it was, but I was living in a constant state of stress and heightened emotion. And the situation I was living in wasn't healthy either, but I didn't really understand that either, that the relationship I was in was not healthy. And that added to my constant state of stress. And I didn't even know back then that that wasn't normal, because to me it felt normal until I later learned not to feel like that. And oh my goodness, can't believe I lived like that.
So what helped you to recognise that you were living in a state of continuous stress?
Probably it was my studies, and actually before my study it was simply, there weren't podcasts then, but there were makes you sound old. There were CDs that I used to listen to, and there was the internet. I wasn't that old. There were things that I looked up and read and started to go, oh my goodness, they were very empowering. They were all self-help, all about emotions, all about the power within us, which led me to want to study. And that led me driving forward.
I suppose if you take the analogy of the dark room again, where there's no light or air coming in, then the way you were living was like that, was in this little dark room. There was no growth for you.
No, it's actually you're just surviving. And one of the reasons that we love to do this podcast is because we don't want other people to feel like that. And information and resources bring light.
And I guess that brings us to a really important point, that if anyone out there is in that situation, was feeling similar to how Helen was explaining, then we strongly encourage you to see someone professional.
Yeah, we really want you to know that that's a sign of strength, because that's you seeking information that you need. And you may not know where to get that on your own, or how to seek it out, or how to implement that information. And so talking with someone who understands, a professional, is just a wonderful space to learn.
That's fantastic. And it's the beginning of actually making friends with fear.
Yeah. And being able to name it, that's something that I got taught. One of the first places before I even started to understand and look for resources and fill myself with light, I actually went to seek out a counsellor because I was in a very frightened state and in a really bad place in my life. But why I'm sharing this is because I want anyone to know out there that might need help. That's where it was like a light bulb when this counsellor taught me about the cycle of abuse. And it was the first time that I understood what abuse was, and that, oh my goodness, I'm living in that. And it's so empowering. And that's why you'll hear us a lot recommend talking to a professional.
Thank you, Helen.
So we've been talking about fear as an enemy. So now we're going to explore fear as a friend. Let's have a discussion and a look at what fear looks like as a friend.
Well, I think let's go back to that picture of being in that dark, small room with no light and with a little bit of air. Imagine then being in that room. Where do you begin, and where do you find that light? Where do you start, do you think?
Well, I'm going to cheat with the answer because you said it before as we were preparing, and I loved it. You said the light is within us, and that's beautiful.
Because I
it
really
is.
believe that.
Mm,
I truly believe that that's how unique we are.
explain more.
Ew.
So when you say the light's within us, do you mean the things within us like our strengths, our natural abilities, the person that we are?
Yes, I think it's the essence of our humanity. It's within us already. For example, I spent a week several weeks ago on an island as an extra with a group of maybe 40 to 50 other film extras. We did not know each other. We were complete strangers. But I made a point to try and sit with as many as I could one-on-one and hear their story. And I was absolutely fascinated with the human spirit. That many of these people had suffered in so many different ways that, I just took my hat off to them. They were incredible. Like you, Helen, with your story. Everybody has a story. Every single one of you out there has a story. But guess what? You are so powerful beyond what you realise. That's what I mean by that light within. There's this power within each of us that I guess emotions help to bring out. They actually help us they serve us by helping us to discover what we're capable of. Does that make sense?
I love it, yes.
Yeah, and I was just blown away. These people that I met, every single one of them, I never would have thought. You would have passed them in the street and thought nothing. But hearing their stories and the things that they'd overcome, I found myself feeling emotional at the power of the human spirit and the strength that's within each of us. And it made me realise, no, actually, the light is within each of us. We're born with it.
I love that. If we could come and sit with each listener, we would hear their story and feel of their light, wouldn't we?
Oh, I'd love that.
Yeah.
And it's the sharing of that light. It's sharing your story, which combined with other light strengthens us. Like I formed connections with those people now, and we're like family. We actually have a WhatsApp page now, and it's just the island family. I can't say the name of the island because we're not allowed to because of the
Film.
Yeah, because of the film. But we're now that family, and we've made this connection. And I just know we'll be there for each other forever now.
It's wonderful.
It's beautiful. That's what it means to be a human. We shouldn't be ashamed or feel vulnerable or ever judge ourselves harshly for our life story. We need to look at how powerful we are and who we are and how we came through that.
Yeah. If you're listening out there and you have never had anyone to share your story with, feel free to email us. We'd love to hear your story and share it with you. Just thought I'd add that. Thank you, Ruth. I love your beautiful thoughts. And it leads me to think about fear as a friend. If it came into that dark room we might feel we're in, it would bring light, wouldn't it?
I believe so. As a friend, it does.
As a friend, it doesn't bring darkness. Friends don't bring darkness. Because fear is actually, while it's the thing we don't feel safe when we feel fear, but fear as a friend actually wants to alert us to that which is dangerous, wrong, or threatening. And so that's why we feel that scared feeling. If we may be feeling threatened at work or threatened when we're going to a new situation because we don't know how it's going to go. And so we feel that fear.
I find it motivates me. I don't know what it is. It just now, having done this work with you, Helen, something else kicks in now. Years ago, I would have been nervous and jittery and trembled at the thought of doing certain things. But now, understanding fear as I do now, a little bit better. I'm not great at it, but understanding how it's a friend, it actually excites me. It's like it's there to say, okay, come on, you can do this. Don't even think about this specific thing. Don't think about failing. Just get up and do it. And whatever it is, I just give my best. And I am much more confident after. It doesn't mean I was incredibly wonderful.
No.
Or that I've won any awards. But I do feel so much stronger and more confident.
And that is fear as a friend.
Yeah.
I experienced that on the weekend. I had to go and speak somewhere, and I'd been allocated about 10 to 12 minutes, and it was looking like I was going to get half an hour.
Oh, wow.
And it was amazing because, you know, I've told you that I've been fearful in the past and lived in a state of fear. I don't now, and I actually sat there and thought, I'll be okay. I've prepared well. I'll be okay. I'm just going to get up and talk about what I prepared. I ended up having a bit over 20 minutes and just spoke relaxed, and I was just myself. That's such a big growth in my life. It's wonderful, and that's what fear as a friend does. It helps you prepare before you go to that thing that could be nerve-wracking, or that conversation that might scare you, or that new job, or that interview that you are frightened of. We've said in other episodes that fear helps and tells you be careful, prepare to act. We just want to conclude by sharing a little idea. It's just one small idea. The next time you might feel fear come, and it starts to feel a bit heavy and your mind starts to be overthinking, or you're feeling like fear is overtaking you, one small thing you can do, since we've been talking about dark and light, you can seek out light. And when I say light, I'm thinking of things that make you feel peaceful and calm. That might be music, it might be picking up the phone, talking with a friend, it might be going for a walk somewhere that makes you feel peaceful, it might just be stepping outside the room that you're in into a brighter room, or outside and look up at the sky. It's a good way to break a pattern of fear starting to feel quite heavy. There are things you can do, and have a little think about what that is for you. For some, it might be go for a run or go to the gym, or you'll know what it is for you. But we really encourage you can start to break the pattern of fear as an enemy by seeking out that which makes you feel peaceful.
Remember to be kind to yourself. And take care, everyone. And thank you again for joining us today.
And we'll talk to you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Today is Tuesday.
That's like play school.
We're going to look through the square window today. Now we're going to explore.
Well, I think let's go back to that picture of being in that dark, small room with no light and with no air.
Sounds like a coffin. No air.
Okay, well, a little bit of air then, Helen. Just for those who are so fussy, a little bit of air.